You know, when we talk about the challenges America faces, we often picture the big, loud crises, the kind that make the evening news. But one of the greatest threats to our well being today doesn't shout, it doesn't explode onto our screens. It creeps in through the cracks of our daily lives in the long hours we work, in the traffic that grinds us down, in the quiet isolation that too many folks carry like a second skin. In the middle of these 2020s, as our country pushes forward with innovation and ambition, stress has settled into our routines with a kind of relentless persistence. It's a shadow cast over millions of people, workers trying to keep pace, parents stuck in gridlock, communities boxed in by concrete and noise. And what we're seeing is that these everyday pressures, they're not just inconveniences, they're fueling a rise in hypertension that hits quietly, fiercely, and far too often unnoticed. Because the truth is, stress doesn't just live in the mind, it lives in the body. Overwork tightens vessels. Traffic's roar and polluted air ignite inflammation. Sedentary hours flood our systems with cortisol. We're not built to hold. And behind the emails, the deadlines, the horns blaring in a standstill commute, our hearts are working overtime long before we ever realize it. Studies tell us job strain alone can drive hypertension in nearly 70% of those affected. And that's not just a statistic, that's millions of Americans pushing through their days, unaware that each unbroken hour, each skipped meal, each night spent staring at the ceiling is quietly shaping their future health. But even in this strain, even in the grind, courage rises. It rises in leaders fighting for work-life balance, not as a luxury, but as a basic pillar of human dignity. It rises in communities carving green paths out of concrete jungles, spaces where people can walk, breathe, reconnect with something gentler than asphalt and exhaust. It rises in everyday Americans who, in the middle of chaos, choose to pause, take a breath, reach out to someone who understands. And slowly, turning points emerge. Awareness grows. People begin to understand that small acts, a mindful break, a supportive workplace, a moment of quiet can lower risks, strengthen families, and protect futures. Science shows us that these shifts matter. They reduce the toll on our hearts, on our hospitals, on our economy. Still, we wrestle with real ethical tensions. The fire of ambition tells us to keep pushing, to keep hustling, while the body pleads for rest. And for many, this isn't just personal discipline, it's systemic. It's fast food pushed by poverty, long commutes forced by housing costs, policies that privilege productivity over wellness. It's a society profitably fueled by stress, even as that stress slowly harms the very people keeping the engine running. That's where leadership, real leadership, matters. Because a democracy only thrives when its people do. And when millions are carrying private pain in their chests, when blood pressure rises not out of choice but out of circumstance, we are called to act. We're called to build trust through equitable wellness programs, to support workers with the same respect we give bottom lines, to remember that the strength of this nation rests not on exhausted shoulders, but on healthy hearts. And make no mistake, the impact is profound. Hypertension drives strokes, but devastates families. It drains billions from our economy and lost productivity. It deepens divides between those who can afford rest and those who can't. But prevention, real patient prevention, offers a path to justice. It steadies communities, it heals, it quietly binds us back together. And resilience, well, it rarely arrives all at once. It whispers in the small moments. The mindful pause at a red light. The walk after a long day. The decision to breathe more deeply, to speak more gently, to resist the pull of constant overwhelm, These small rebellions against the grind, they matter. They remind us that peace isn't found in escaping the world, but in reclaiming ourselves within it. Today's landscape ties stress to everything: wearables tracking strain, care deserts swallowing the overburdened, policy battles over labor rights, a nation straining under the weight of its own pace. And yet, in all that tension, we still have the power to choose empathy, to innovate with compassion, to build a future where the heartbeat of this country, its people, can find relief. Because stress whispers in traffic and desks, and if we continue to ignore it, it will claim more hearts than we can afford to lose. But if we listen, if we breathe, if we act together, then the arc of calm can indeed bend back toward peace. And every breath reclaimed becomes a quiet victory, honoring the fight for lives unbound by the weight of modern stress.